Hey, it's Jamie. So if you guys watched my last video, you know that this is a two-parter. We made an apron in the last video today. I'm going to put that in like the little banner link thing up here. And in this video, we're going to make an oven mitt and tiny dishcloths to go along with the apron to make the perfect gift set for any little one in your life. Okay, time to get into the tutorial. To make kitchen mittens to match with your apron, you can use fabric that's left over from the half yard used to make your apron. I'll link that like at the top of the screen. You need a 10 by 7 inch rectangle of your outer fabric, your lining fabric, and a piece of fusible fleece or low loft batting. You'll also need a 2 by 3 inch strip of fabric and your mitten pattern. For mine, I just traced my baby's hand. It's 6 inches tall, 3 inches wide at the bottom, and the widest point is about 5 inches. Hopefully I learn how to make some PDFs so that I can make that printable, but this is just a rough sketch. First thing you are going to do, if you don't have fusible, if you just chose low loft batting, you're going to make a sandwich with your outer fabric on the bottom, your batting in the center, and your outer fabric facing right side up on the top. You're going to pin and then you're going to take it to the sewing machine to quilt your fabric. To quilt my fabric, I'm going to sew diagonal lines about a 1/4 inch apart from each other all along my fabric. So this is going to take a while. You're going to go in this direction and then you're going to flip it over and go in the opposite direction. So because I wanted to use the fabric that I already have, I am, can you see, quilting it by sewing diagonal lines a 1/4 inch apart along the fabric, and this does take a while. And then I am going to sew lines in the opposite direction doing the same thing. I just finished quilting my fabric, and this is how the front looks. Come on, focus. And then this is how the back of my fabric looks. I used white fabric in my bobbin and pink fabric in the top in my needle. So your next step is going to be to cut out your pattern pieces. If you have really good scissors, I would recommend folding your fabric in half. Tracing or pinning your pattern piece to the front and then cutting it out. If not, what you want to do is make sure that you mirror your pieces. So if you trace one here, you need to flip it over and trace it in the opposite direction. So for mine, I'm going to trace it just because that's my preference. So next you're going to take your 2 by 3 inch strip and we're going to iron it, sew it down, and make a little hook strap for our mittens. Okay, so now we're going to iron our strip so that we could sew it. You are going to fold it in half hot dog style long ways and press it. Careful not to burn your fingers. You're going to open it up and you're going to fold each end towards the crease that you just made and iron it. And then you are going to fold that in half again. So you should have the two edges folded towards the middle, and then the outside you fold it in half again. You iron that down. And now we're gonna go to our sewing machine and sew along the two long edges. Now you should have your two mitten pieces, your strip, and it's time to start putting it together. So we're gonna put the mittens right sides together. So for me, that's pattern sides together. Pin. And you're gonna sew with a 1/4 inch seam allowance around your entire mitt. Now that we've sewn our mitten, we are going to snip some of the curved areas just to make sure that it lays flatter when we turn it out. So I have to admit that the mitten was just too tight. I tried to get it over Zoe's hand. So I actually ended up cutting off an inch from the bottom. And now we're going to take our tag, pin it to the outside. That's good enough. And then sew your bias tape around the edge of the bottom, making sure to double stitch over your tag. So we're going to go to the sewing machine and do that. So your mitt is done. I'll be the first to admit that I'm not good at sewing bias tape. You can see, can you see it? But that came out pretty nice. It's pretty cute. So now to complete your set and make little mini washcloths, I cut 5-inch squares out of the scrap left over from my fabric, and then I went through some other scraps I had, and then I did 3 5-inch squares out of terry cloth. At some fabric stores you can buy 5 inches of material, so if you don't have scraps at home, you can go and buy something. And also you can use an old towel. There are 2 ways to do this. The first way is to use your serger, and to do that you just put your fabric wrong sides together and serge around the edges. And for those that don't have a serger, what you do is pin your fabrics right sides together, stitch around the edge, but be sure to leave an opening. So I'm going to use this pin, these 2 pins, to mark my opening. I'm going to go to my sewing machine and stitch around the edge, leaving an opening, and I will tell you guys what to do from there. So now you should have your square. Because this is so quick, I'm just going to do it all here. We're going to clip our corners. Use the opening to turn it right side out. And you can go to the ironing board and iron, but I won't. I'm just going to tuck this in a little bit, finger press it, and top stitch. There is your little washcloth. So this is our finished mitten and washcloth, or dishcloth, sorry, I always say washcloth. Thanks for watching our video today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and look out for more sewing and DIY tutorials.